Honestly, I think I wore being too busy, quote unquote, as a badge of honor because in my mind, I think it made me feel more successful. Whether it was from my first job out of college to becoming an entrepreneur, I always put work over other important things in my life. Whether it was taking time off for a well deserved vacation or making time to do the things I love, like taking a walk on the beach or, just enjoying a night out with friends or spending quality time with my parents. I was always claiming to be too busy. But was I really too busy? Or was I just keeping myself busy? Hey there, it's Suzanne Oshima, your fellow sister on a mission to empower and inspire you through the twists and turns of midlife. And I'm here to help you transform it into your best life with the Life is Now podcast. And I'm super excited to dive into this new journey together. Hey there, welcome to a new episode of the Life is Now, Do It While You Can podcast show. I am so excited to be here because we have a lot to talk about today. But before we jump into today's topic, I wanted to share with you, remember, if you've listened to the welcome episode of the podcast show, I shared with you what to expect in upcoming episodes. And what I shared with you is that it was going to be a mix of interviews with different experts who are going to share their wisdom and knowledge with us. And it's also going to be life-changing stories of experts, because I always find that when we hear other people's stories about how they changed their life, that it really inspires us, and it can inspire us to change our own lives. But also on these shows, I was also going to do solo shows with just me. And I came up with a new concept that I shared with you is that I discovered is that while everyone loves blog posts, is not everyone likes to read them, sometimes people would prefer to listen to them. I'm actually one of those people that I would actually prefer to listen to a podcast than read a podcast because then I could do double duty while I'm driving, right? So I had shared with you in the welcome episode that I would also be recording my blog post episodes. And as I was thinking, I was like, God, blog post sounds so boring. What a boring title. So I came up with a new concept, and I'm going to call the blog post episodes Life's Lessons, because that's what they truly are. The first one I shared a couple of weeks ago was the thing I feared the most. And what I learned from that was the thing I feared the most was the thing that turned out to be the thing I loved the most. And I gave my key takeaways from that episode on a trip to Zion National Park where I was terrified to go rappelling down into a canyon because I'm scared of heights. I am so scared of heights. And it took a lot for me to do, but once I conquered my fear, I was able to do anything, and I felt so strong and confident. If you missed that episode, it's episode number 4. I highly recommend going back to listen to it. And if you want to read the blog post, you can actually go to my site, and you'll actually see pictures from my experience. That's where it's a little bit different. In the blog post that I wrote, I'm going to share pictures that obviously I can't share on an audio podcast. So if you ever love a story that I'm telling about a life's lesson, I highly recommend that you just go to the site, because I'll always share personal pics of whatever the experience was. And in these episodes where I share a life's lesson, the other thing that I'm going to do, and that I did on the last episode, is takeaways on how you can make positive changes in your own life. Because I think that it's important that we learn from these experiences and going forward, change our lives, right? I don't know about you, but I always want to be growing and changing and improving my life. And if you're following me, you probably are the same way as I am. So, that being said, let's jump into episode number 5. And the title of today's life lesson is The Real Cost of Being Too Busy. And so I want to ask you a question is, how many times in your life have you said the words, I'm too busy for whatever it is? Whether it's taking time off for a well-deserved vacation, because I know you all work so hard, or just making time to do the things you love, like taking a walk in the park or taking a walk on the beach. Like I personally love walking on the beach. I know not everybody lives by a beach, but wherever you like to go, or maybe it's hiking, or enjoying a night out with friends, or spending quality time with an elderly family member. And unfortunately, as I was thinking about things of the cost of being too busy, is I think being busy has become the norm for so many of us. And I think it's kind of sad. And I will tell you, I've reevaluated my life over the busyness aspect of it, and I've made some shifts. So when opportunities arise to do things for ourselves or loved ones, I think we often find ourselves immediately uttering the words, I'm too busy. Like it's a knee-jerk reaction. And I will tell you, I am guilty of this myself, where someone's asked me to do something and I immediately start to feel this overwhelm of, oh God, I have so much going on. I'm too busy, right? Can you relate to that? I bet you can. So here's the thing is that being too busy for me, like I look back on my life and being too busy has honestly, I will admit, been a common thread throughout my entire career. And I look back and I've always worked crazy hours that often overflowed into the weekends. And I'll be honest, and this is embarrassing to admit, but I think I wore being too busy, quote unquote, as a badge of honor. Because in my mind, I think it made me feel like I was more successful because I was, oh, she's so busy. She must be doing great things, right? So I really struggled in my 20s, 30s, and early 40s with a work-life balance. When I was in my mid-30s, I was offered this great job at a promotions agency, and I was so proud of myself when I negotiated a compensation package with a high salary and 2 weeks paid vacation per year. And this was a big deal because the standard vacation time that they were giving all employees was actually only 1 week. And so I was like, wow, I actually negotiated 2 weeks paid vacation time. So anyways, during this job, one summer, my mom was studying French in Paris. So I asked my boss for a week off, right? Because who wouldn't want to go to Paris and spend time there when your mom's studying there all summer long? But unfortunately, my boss told me, you know, this is our busy season, Suzanne, so I could only take a few days off. So this is when I was living in New York, so it was a little bit easier to fly to Paris. So I took a long weekend off to visit my mom in Paris. Actually, and now that I think about it, it was 25 years ago from 2024, because and the reason why I remember that is because I saw on the Today Show the other day that it was the 25th anniversary of JFK Jr. passing away. And I was actually in Paris at the time. And I remember we were sitting in a cafe an outdoor cafe, and this man was reading a French newspaper, and the headline on the front page was JFK Jr. has died because his plane crashed. And I remember, like, oh God, I still feel that shock that I felt sitting there, feeling like that wasn't real. I think that's one of those moments where we all remember where we were, right? Well, at least I do. Anyways, that's how I know it was 25 years ago. Anyways, so despite the brief stay, I will say I cherished that experience to, really enjoy the beauty of the City of Lights with my mom, like going to the Louvre, going to the Opera House, and going to the Arc de Triomphe. I can't speak French, so please don't chastise me. And just walking the streets of Paris. I mean, it's such a beautiful city. Anyways, going back to my job, it was kind of ironic that I had negotiated extra paid vacation, as I think back at that time, I always felt guilty for asking for time off. It was like it was ridiculous because I had negotiated this time off, but I always felt guilty for asking for the time off. And I found myself at the end of the year, I would carry over my vacation days over to the next year, like I was saving time in a bank and I was doing something good and I should be proud of myself. And I actually thought that delaying my vacations wasn't really a big deal because I was still young. I was in my mid-30s. And in my mind, I felt like there was always plenty of time to take vacations because I was trying to build my career, right? And climb the corporate ladder. Anyways, after I left that job, I had a bit more free time, not a lot, but a bit. And I decided I wanted to visit Japan for the first time with my mom to meet her distant relatives. Because I had never been to Japan, and my mom and I were both born in the United States, and my father was born in the United States, so I had never been to Japan. So my mom and I planned to go to Japan to visit her distant relatives. And I wanted to go and experience, all the hustle and bustle of Tokyo because, as they say, Tokyo is very similar to New York City. And I was living in New York at the time. And we also planned to go to Kyoto. And I was very excited about that because Kyoto, if you don't know, is a very spiritual town. And the last place that I wanted to go that was very important to me was a small town called Shizuoka. Called Shizuoka. I said Shizuoka, but it's called Shizuoka. And it's near Mount Fuji. And the reason why I wanted to go there was because my grandmother grew up there, and I always remember the vivid stories she would tell me when she was a little girl about how she would play on the beach and how she could see Mount Fuji in the background. And so I wanted to go there and experience where my grandmother came from. So those trips, going to Paris and Japan with my mom, honestly remain some of my most cherished memories of my life with her, because those were trips we took, just her and I. My siblings didn't come and my dad didn't come. So I always think back about those trips is that I'm really glad I took that time to travel and experience these beautiful countries with my mom. So I'll tell you a story. And I've never told this story, and I'll be honest with you, it's not easy for me to tell the story. My mom had always wanted to travel to Spain. But as my dad got older, he preferred to stay, in his comfortable routine, sleep in his own bed, and stay at home and eat the same food every day because that's what he liked. And so my mom had asked me if I would go to Spain with her. And she even said to me, because this is how much she wanted to go, is that the trip would be her treat. Now, I know you're probably listening to this going, oh my God, I'd go in a second. So, and I know that most people would jump at the chance and immediately begin packing their bags. But in my mind, she couldn't have asked me at a worse time to take time off. Because this was at the beginning stages of my journey of becoming a solopreneur. An entrepreneur who was working on my own, and it was only me. And if I stopped working, then nothing was happening, right? And this is also when, at the beginning of my solopreneur career, is that I was literally, a lot of people don't know this, is I was literally working 7 days a week, 12-hour days for 2 years straight. I know that sounds crazy. I don't even know how I survived because I was exhausted all the time. And this was at a make or break moment for me. And the reason why is because I was really struggling. And it was a critical point in building my business. And so regrettably, I told my mom I couldn't go with her to Spain. And while I felt bad, I figured she would just find one of her other many travel buddies to go with her, because she had several that she used to travel with because my dad didn't like to travel. So I thought, oh, she'll get one of them to go. But she never did. And as time went on, I continued to prioritize work over other important things in my life, like fun nights out with friends, holidays with family, vacations with other friends. I was in that constant state of, I was always so busy. It was like a continuous loop that never stopped. And looking back, I kind of asked myself, but was I really too busy? Or was I just keeping myself busy? Because there's a difference, right? I'm going to say that again because this is so profound. Is that, was I really too busy? Or was I just keeping myself busy? And if you're like me, where you're too busy, I invite you to ask yourself that same question right now. So, going back to my story, deep down inside, we all know our parents aren't going to be around forever. But do we make adjustments in the way we live our lives to make more time for them while they're still here? Because here's what happened with my mom. When my mom reached her mid-80s, it became too late for her to travel to Spain. And here's why, is because she had excruciating sciatica in her legs and could barely walk. And by this time, she had to use a wheelchair most of the time to get around. And now she could no longer travel, nor did she want to travel. And while before this, I did make time before that to travel with her, and it was just me and her or I can hear my mom, she was an English teacher, going, "No, Suzanne, it's her and I." Or she and I. Now I don't know. Now I'm confused because I'm so emotional right now. I still regret not taking that one trip to Spain with her. I do. And the truth is, work will always be there. I wish I knew this back then. What I know now is work will always be there. The emails, the meetings, the deadlines, they're endless. They will never stop. But the people we love won't always be here. Whether it's our parents, our friends, our children. These are the people that make our lives rich and meaningful. Yet, we often push them aside in favor of our work commitments. So my story about passing on the opportunity to travel with my mom to Spain honestly, it's a painful reminder that time is precious and fleeting. And this is one of my biggest regrets. It's one of my biggest regrets because my mom passed away in 2014. And she never got to see Spain. Well, I can't go back and change the past. I will tell you, after being diagnosed with cancer, that's what made me wake up. I have made now in my life significant shifts in my life where I make more time for the things and people in my life that are important to me. So like I said, again, I can't change the past. I can't change that I made a bad decision in the past. But I can change things going forward. And how I'm living my life and where I'm spending my time and what I'm saying yes to and what I'm saying no to. I'm very cognizant of that. I'm very aware of time in my life. And as a life coach, how I can use my story and my experience is I can use this to encourage you to make different choices in your life before it's too late. Because the last thing that I want for you is to have the same regret that I have. So, if you're fortunate enough to still have your parents and other loved ones, because it doesn't have to just be our biological parents, it can be other loved ones in our life, right? Important people, friends, siblings, aunts, uncles, anybody. It doesn't have to be blood related. If you're fortunate enough to still have these people in your life, I encourage you to take a step back from the things that are keeping you, quote unquote, too busy, and take the time to reprioritize your life and make time for the most important people in your life. Because trust me when I say this, you don't want to look back on your life and realize that you missed out on the most important moments because you were too busy. Regret is a heavy burden to carry after someone's gone. And it often comes too late. And that's the truth. You know, when I was thinking about this story about me passing on this trip to Spain, I was I'm not going to lie to you, it was hard to write about on this blog post, our life lesson, and also to share it with you. Like, I was scared to share it with you on the podcast because I knew that it's very emotional for me, and it's hard for me to admit publicly that I made this mistake in my life in my 40s when my mom was still alive. It was very hard for me. And many times as I was writing this and thinking about what am I going to say on the podcast, is I was like, oh, I think I should pick a different topic. But I said, I can't. If it can help somebody else really think about being too busy, then that's why I need to do this. If it can help somebody else, this is why I need to do this. And I will tell you, it's a good check-in for myself. It's a good check-in for myself to remind myself being too busy isn't always a great thing. And how I say yes now more often, how I make time for the people and things in my life that are important, because the one thing we can't do is buy more time. Not only in our lives, but with the people we love. So I want to talk about some key takeaways and how you can reprioritize your life. So here are some ways you can start prioritizing the important people in your life and start making time for them, okay? So number one is schedule time for loved ones. Yep, as just as much as you would schedule a meeting, schedule a deadline, schedule time for work, schedule time for your loved ones. Put it in your calendar. Make it a non-negotiable. Because when it's in your calendar, you're more likely to do it. Number two, be present. Be present when you are with your loved ones. Put away your phone, stop thinking about work, and enjoy the moment. Our phones are great until they're not. They connect us, but they also disconnect us because they get in the way when we're with people right in front of us. So I encourage you, instead of looking at your phone, to really focus 100% on the person in front of you, the person that you love, the person that wants to spend time with you. Number three, say yes more often. So when opportunities arise to spend time with your loved ones, say yes. Don't have that knee-jerk reaction that I had of always saying I'm too busy or I can't take work off. The work can wait. Make time for your loved ones, your family, because your family will always be there. Number four, and when I say will always be there for you. Number four, reflect on what matters. Regularly take time out to reflect on what's important to you, because this can help you make better choices about how you spend your time. Too many of us are giving away our time freely to things and people that don't matter, and then are forgoing the people that matter in our lives. Because just remember, life is happening now. Don't let the busyness of your life rob you of the precious moments with people who matter most. Prioritize them, cherish them, and make the most of the time you have together, because at the end of the day, it's the relationships and memories that will matter, not the hours that you logged at work. And if you're saying in your head right now, because I know my audience, I know you may be saying, Suzanne, I really don't have time. So if you still think that you don't have enough time in your life right now, here's what I encourage you to do is go to my website to get my free ebook, 5 Ways to Buy More Time in Your Life to Do More of What You Love. Because I found for myself, there was a lot of things that I was wasting my time on, and the way I could buy more time back was to reprioritize things in my life. So there's 5 ways, significant ways that you can reprioritize your time and get more time back so that you could spend it with your loved ones. So go to my website, SuzanneOshima.com, SuzanneOshima.com. And if you go to the homepage and you just scroll down underneath the picture of me at Zion National Park, you'll see it. It's a free ebook. You can download it right away. And I encourage you to do that because you're going to find that, oh my gosh, I've been wasting a lot of time where I could be spending it with my family members or people that are so important to me that won't be here forever. Hey there, if you enjoyed this podcast and are ready to transform midlife into your best life, visit SuzanneOshima.com to become an insider and join my email list. As an insider, you'll be the first to know about new episodes and gain access to exclusive content that empowers and inspires you on your midlife journey today and in the future.